They want you staring at the screens. The geopolitical friction, the endless updates about instability overseas. Because as long as your eyes are fixed on the distant horizon, you will not look down at your wallet. You will not notice that while the headlines grab your attention, the purchasing power of your life, savings is being quietly evaporated to pay for it all.
Authorities are advising all civilians in the red zone to seek immediate shelter. We're getting reports of significant movement along the front lines. This is a developing situation.
Welcome to Dossier number 3. Today we step outside the borders of the neighborhood and look at the grand chessboard. We are going to expose the most effective wealth transfer mechanism ever designed by human hands. The economics of global conflict. Most people believe that when friction erupts across the globe, it is a political problem, a diplomatic issue, or a matter of military strategy. They watch the events unfold as if it were a movie, completely disconnected from their daily reality. But there is a hidden umbilical cord connecting the chaos thousands of miles away directly to your bank account, your mortgage rate, and the price of the food on your table. It is a mathematical certainty. You are paying for the spectacle even if you never asked for a ticket. To understand the trap, you must first unlearn a fundamental lie you were taught in school. You must understand the myth of government money. When escalations happen overseas, politicians stand at podiums and pledge billions in aid, logistics, and military support. The average citizen applauds or protests, but they rarely ask the only question that matters: where is that money coming from? The government does not have a magical vault filled with capital. The government produces nothing. It only has what it takes from the citizens through taxation, but directly taxing the middle class to fund foreign friction is political suicide. If they raised your income tax by 30% overnight to pay for global operations, there would be riots in the streets. So they use a different mechanism, a silent one. Deficit spending. Instead of taxing you today, they borrow from your future. They issue bonds. They write an IOU, promising to pay it back with interest. But when the debt reaches numbers so astronomically high that no foreign nation or private investor wants to buy it, who steps in? The central bank, the Federal Reserve, and they do not buy this debt with saved money. They buy it with a keystroke. They create the currency entirely out of thin air. This brings us to the core of the illusion, the invisible tax. When the central bank creates trillions of new dollars to fund global instability, they are not creating new wealth. They are simply diluting the value of every single dollar that already exists. Imagine a pizza cut into 8 slices. If you suddenly cut that same pizza into 16 slices, you do not have more food. You just have smaller portions. This is what happens to your salary. This is what happens to your savings account. The numbers on your bank screen might stay the same, but the energy contained within those numbers is drained. You go to the grocery store and the eggs are twice as expensive, the rent goes up, the car insurance skyrockets. You blame the corporate greed of the supermarket. You blame your landlord. You blame the supply chain. You are pointing your anger at the symptoms, completely ignoring the disease. The disease is fiat debasement. Inflation is not an accident of nature, it is a deliberate policy. It is the invisible tax you pay to fund the empire's friction. The architects of this system rely on the masses staying distracted. They actively suppress this kind of financial reality. If you are finally seeing the trap for what it is, hit the like button right now. Force the algorithm to show this to others who are still asleep. And if you want to see in the dark, subscribe to the network. We have seen this movie before. In 1973, the world woke up to the first great oil shock. Geopolitical friction in the Middle East resulted in an embargo. Overnight, energy was cut off. The American middle class, living the illusion of infinite prosperity, suddenly found themselves in mile-long lines just to put fuel in their cars. The price of everything skyrocketed. It was not just a historical event. It was a mathematical warning about the fragility of a system dependent on external energy corridors. Energy is the master resource. It is the cost hidden inside the cost of everything else. When you buy a piece of fruit, you are paying for the diesel in the tractor, the fuel in the freighter, and the electricity running the refrigeration. To save the empire from inflation back then, the government created its greatest masterpiece, the Petrodollar, a simple and brutal agreement. Global oil could only be bought and sold using US dollars. If a nation wanted energy to survive, it needed to hold the paper printed by the United States. This created an infinite artificial demand for our currency. The printer could run freely for decades because the entire world was absorbing our invisible tax. The inflation was exported, but what happens when the chain breaks? This is exactly what the current escalation of tension is causing. Today's geopolitical friction is not just about territory, it is about breaking the petrodollar chain. When the energy corridor is threatened, the trade routes shatter. You are hit with a double-edged sword. The currency in your pocket is losing value to fund the conflict, while the physical goods you need become exponentially more expensive because supply lines are disrupted. You are squeezed from both ends. This leads us to the boomerang effect. For decades, America exported its inflation. But geopolitical friction changes alliances. If the world no longer needs massive reserves of dollars to buy oil, the artificial demand evaporates. Where do those trillions of paper notes go? They come home. They flood the domestic economy like a tsunami. All the invisible tax that was exported since the 1970s returns all at once. The cost of living does not just rise, it goes parabolic, crushing the purchasing power of anyone who only keeps cash in the bank. The system is working exactly as it was designed to work. It transfers wealth from those who hold paper to those who hold assets. You cannot stop the geopolitical friction or unplug the money printer. But you can change where you stand. The middle class fails because they save in a currency designed to melt. The wealthy survive because they hold hard assets. They hold productive real estate, commodities, and precious metals. They build a shield made of reality. Stop trading your time for a currency printed to fund the theater of the elite. Acquire the shield. Liking this video is your first vote against their narrative. Subscribe to The Hidden Cost. Welcome to the network.